How's it going, everybody? I'm Lewis, and we've got a new poll from the Old School RuneScape team. So let's go ahead and vote in this poll. So this is Old School Content Poll 41, Bank Places and Skillcapes. While they continue to work on Monkey Madness 2, they're going to be offering another bundle of small quality of life updates that they can develop on the side. Starting off with question 1. Should it be possible to create placeholders for items in your bank? This will allow you to make sure an item is deposited into the certain bank slot without needing to own more than one of the item. Now this would be incredibly useful. I know plenty of people that would love it. Personally, I wouldn't use it for a while, and then I definitely would use it later on. One downside you could potentially say is that people with loads of items will sell their spare item in a bid to get money, and then it will crash the market. However, I don't think we should really worry about that sort of thing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 2. Should the perk of the fishing skill cape be unlimited teleports to Otto's grotto rather than unlimited teleports to the fishing guild? Now this is a bit of an interesting one, and it's kind of hard for me to think which one I'd prefer. Obviously Otto's grotto is very useful, but to me the fishing guild would make more sense because that's where, master fishers go. So I think I'm just going to skip that question. Next, question 3. Currently, the perk of the magic skill cape allows you to swap spellbook for a single spell once a day. Should the perk instead allow you to change spellbook permanently once per day? Now this would be very useful, and I'm trying to think which one you prefer. Would you rather switch to one spell quickly and use it, or would you just completely change your spellbook and use that spellbook for that day? It's something I'm not necessarily opposed to either way. However, someone on the 2007 Scape Reddit pointed out something very important to do with this. The Old School RuneScape team are looking at introducing a room in construction where you can change which spellbook you're on, which means that this perk could potentially make that room somewhat obsolete. I think the fact it's once a day doesn't, however, it's noteworthy. I'm actually going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 4. Currently the perk of the smithing skill cape is that the cape provides the same effect as the gold smithing gauntlets. Should this perk be replaced by the cape increasing the coal bag's capacity from 27 to 36? Now the gold smithing gauntlets one I thought was fairly powerful, but I don't think it stacks with the actual gauntlets themselves. This means that you could get the goldsmithing gauntlet effect, and you could get additional coal bag capacity if you had both of these items, and if you've got 99 smithing you presumably will have both. And for that reason I think I actually prefer this new perk, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 5. Should the quest cape be given the perk of unlimited teleports to the Legends Guild? Now I don't think the quest cape currently has a perk, and I think this one is a relatively fair perk, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 6. Should the Achievement Diary Cape provide the perk of 5 teleports to any Diary Master per day? Now once again, the Achievement Diary Cape doesn't have any perks currently. However, obviously you get plenty of perks with the Achievement Diary items. Being able to teleport to the Diary Masters would be fairly useful. I suppose the downside is you don't really need to go to them 5 times a day. However, I quite like this, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 7. Should the style of text be made consistent across all teleport tablets? Teleport tablets added since the release of Old School will be changed to become consistent with the original style. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. It keeps the game more old school, or at least more 2007, which is what we started with. Question 8. Should the appearance of Castle Wars halos be updated so they appear to glow? Now I think that'll be a nice cosmetic upgrade, and if it looks good, then I think that'll be awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 9. Should Fremenic Sea Boots 4 provide 5 teleports to Relica every day instead of only 1? Now I think that's quite a good idea. I think Fremenic Sea Boots 3 might provide 1 teleport at the moment, and you don't really get a bonus when you hit the Fremenic Sea Boots 4 when it comes to teleporting to Relica. So this would fit in well. Question 10. Should the shadow spells provide different chances of disorientating the Abyssal Sire, increasing from 25% for Rush to 100% for Barrage? Now they posed something similar to this not too long ago. I think it was that all smoke spells, or shadow spells, would disorientate the Abyssal Sire 100% of the time. Personally I thought 100% was a little bit too much. I was thinking 80% would do well. Maybe 90 if we were feeling generous. A few people suggested this, and I quite like the idea. I still think 100% for Barrage is too much. However, I like the fact that it increases from such a low percentage to a high percentage. Obviously, it sucks for the people using those lower level spells if this passes. However, if you're using the high level spells, then it'll be fine. And it'll really encourage people to get their magic levels up in order to do barrage. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 11. Should it be made possible to split King Black Dragon heads into 3 Ensouled Dragon heads? Now, that would provide a use for King Black Dragon heads after you get the one and you put it in your house. And I think if they were to offer this on other creatures, then that would be a fairly good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 12. Should additional spawns be added for gargoyles, bloodvelds, aberrant spectres and abyssal demons inside the Cannabis Slayer Tower? Now I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I don't think many people particularly use the Slayer Tower ever since the Slayer Cave came out. However, if you are using it, then this would be very useful. And I know I've been opposed to some additional spawns in the past, but seeing as we've had so many come into the game, then I think we might as well just have more and more. Next, question 13. Should the number of Hellhound spawns in Witch Haven Dungeon be increased? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Same reason as the previous question. I think, sure, I'm not majorly for adding loads of spawns, but seeing as we've had quite a few recently, we might as well have a few more. Question 14. The Apatol teleport found on the Necromancy spellbook takes you underneath the Apatol temple. Should the destination of this teleport be changed to the cave found on the south of Apatol? Now, I think more people are interested in using that cave, and if you think about it, the standard spellbook Apatol teleport will take you to the temple. So they're pretty close teleports. So if we have it in the cave, then it'll be more useful, and it's not going to be as close to another teleport which we already have. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 15. Should farmers at farming patches be made to stand still? Now, I understand why they're asking this question. It's annoying if a farmer wanders off. However, I think that it looks a bit rubbish if they're just standing still. When they added the leprechauns to make them just stand still, I thought it was horrible. Give them a small wandering radius. So for that reason, I'm actually going to go ahead and vote no. Question 16. Should the bandos, armadillo and ancient rune armor obtained from clue scrolls be made wearable and tradable in free-to-play worlds? Now, I understand why they're asking this. Free-to-play would like a few more variants on fun armor, and it will allow members to sell this armor which isn't particularly valued that much to free-to-play, give it a bit more value. The one thing I do have against this is the fact that bandos, armadillo and ancient, which is Zoros, gods, are the ones that I've always seen at least as members gods. Because when you're playing free-to-play, you always hear about Guthix, Saradomin and Zamorak. And even in, the Fun Orb game, Armies of Galenor, they were the gods that free-to-play people could play. Whereas Bandos, Armadillo and Zaros are the members ones. However, I feel it would be too harsh to deny free-to-play players the ability to wear this armor, and having a slight bit of profit from it for members would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 17. Should an agility shortcut be added to the fence of the eastern side of Relica, requiring 57 agility? Now, the area of Relica they're talking about is a pain to walk around, and having a fairly low agility requirement is useful, obviously. I know I'll be able to use it. It's not one of those massively high agility levels they've been putting on some recent shortcuts. So I think that'll be really useful and used a lot. Would it be overpowered? Probably. But you know what? I think there's not quite enough players that hang around that area to make it completely overpowered. So I will be voting yes on that. Question 18. Should the check and fill options be switched on the seed box? Now, I don't have a seed box, and I'm not really sure which way round they are. So I'm just going to skip that question. Question 19. And this is a question that I think has had an idea around for a while. Should ice gloves allow you to cool down blast furnace bars as you pick them up? This would allow you to skip the cooling process. Now, this would be incredibly useful, and I would argue somewhat overpowered. That's making me inclined to say no. However, if the previous smithing cape perk will change, then I think that's quite a good idea, because players will have to decide whether they want to have the goldsmithing gauntlets or the ice gloves when they're in blast furnace. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 20. Should a button be added to the options menu to allow you to call your pet to you? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. That's something that people have always wanted, and was quite useful when summoning came out. I mean, it was a little bit glitchy. I think they said they've got a slightly better way of doing it, and yeah, people do enjoy that. Question 21. Should Sanfu Serum be usable with a lunar spell, stat restore pot share? Now, I must admit, I didn't really know what a Sanfu Serum did. Just looking it up now, and it's a mixture of Super Restore, Super Anti-Poison, and Relicim's Balm. Seems like it's actually quite a useful potion, and I don't really hear too much about it, which has now intrigued me. However, the question isn't about am I intrigued by Sanfu Serum, it's about should we be able to use it with the Luna Stat Restore Pot Share spell. And personally, I have no preference here, so I'm just going to skip this question. Question 22. Should an uncharge option be added to the Charge Black Masks and Broodoo Shields? This would allow you to convert them into their GE-enabled state more easily. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I'm sure people have a small stock of uncharged things that they just want to be able to sell, but they can't because it's charged, and the charged version is untradeable. Question 23. Should clue scrolls be added to the drop tables of Implings? I'm a little bit annoyed about the fact that we are adding lots of just random clue scroll drops. However, clue scrolls are fun, they're fairly rare, and I think with Implings, it's something that you've got to hunt down an Impling, and if you do get a clue scroll, it'll be a nice little reward. So, let's go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 24. Should it be made possible to catch Implings without a net? This would require hunter level of 10 higher than the requirement with a net, and would provide the same experience. Implings would not be placed into a jar, and the loot would be instantly obtained. Now, this is a really nice thing that RuneScape 3 has, and it's had it for a long time. I used to do this all the time when I played the main game. However, I used to think in Old School RuneScape it would be way too powerful. You'd just be able to catch Implings immediately as soon as you see them. But I think having the 10 level higher requirement is really good and would make it somewhat balanced. Or at least it will make it so you're not just instantly catching imps as soon as you can. It will mean you have to train your hunter just a little bit more in order to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I'm sure there are some hunter purists out there that are just cringing so much at this question. But I'm not one of them, so I'd like to move on to question 25. Should it be made possible to compost a farming patch at any point in the growth stages? So I think the main reason this is being polled is people are forgetting to compost their farming patch and they are kicking themselves and they just wish that they could add it later on. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 26. Should it be possible to make tradable teleport tablets for teleport spells of the Arceus spellbook? This will be done using Dark Essence blocks and the runes for the related spell. Now currently the majority of the teleport tablets, or at least the main teleport tablets that I think of, come from construction. So I'd quite like these teleport tablets to come from there, and they've not mentioned that. So for that reason I'm going to be voting no. However, I fully expect this question to pass, and like most questions I have no real quarrels if it did get into the game. It's just something I'd rather not have. At least I would rather not have it in its current form. Finally, question 27. Should they add the gem reward bags to the Prospector Peak at Motherlode Mine, which would contain 40 assorted uncut gems for a cost of 50 golden nuggets? So it will just be a way of spending your golden nuggets if you manage to obtain a lot, which if you're going for say 99, then you will have lots of golden nuggets. And you want a way to maybe get a bit of money from that. I think that's fairly fair because it's a low amount of gems and they could increase it in the future. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes, and then we can submit our vote and have a look at the results. So far we've got 21,078 votes. 92.3% want the ability to have placeholders in their bank. 44.9% want the Skillcape perk of the Fishing Cape to be switched to unlimited teleports to Otto's Grotto rather than the Fishing Guild. 86.7% want the Magic Skillcape to be able to swap your spellbook for an entire day instead of just one spell per day. 76.8% want to change the Smithing Skillcape perk to increase the capacity of a coal bag rather than have the effect of the Goldsmithing Gauntlets. 93.5% want the Questcape to have unlimited teleports to the Legends Guild. 90.6% want the Achievement Diary Cape to have 5 teleports to any Diary Master per day. 87.3% want the style of text to be made consistent across all teleport tablets. 89.5% want the appearance of Castwar's halos to be updated so they appear to glow. 92% want Fremenic Sea Boots 4 to provide 5 daily teleports to Relica instead of 1. 86.6% want Shadow Spells to provide different chances of disorientating the Abyssal Sire, from 25% on Rush to 100% on Barrage. 80.7% want it to be possible to split King Black Dragon heads into 3 Ensouled Dragon heads. 90.7% want additional spawns for Gargoyles, Bloodvelds, Aberrant Spectres and Abyssal Demons to be made inside of the Canifis Slayer Tower. 84.7% want Hellhound spawns to be increased in Witch Haven Dungeon. 70.8% want the Apatol teleport found on the Necromancy spellbook to be changed from underneath the Apatol temple to the South Cave on Apatol. 69.2% want farmers at farming patches to be made to stand still. 81.8% want Bandos, Armadillo and Ancient Rune Armor sets to be available to freeze play. 96.2% want an agility shortcut with 57 agility level requirement to be on the eastern side of the Relic of Fence. 96.2% want an agility shortcut to be added to the fence on the eastern side of Relica, requiring 57 agility to do. 86.1% want the check and fill options to be switched on the seed box. 90.2% want ice gloves to have the ability to cool down bars in the blast furnace when you pick them up. 93.5% want a cool option on pets. 86.1% want the Sanfu serum to be used on the Lunar Stat Restore pot share spell. 92% want an uncharged option to be added to various items such as Black Mass and Brooder Shields to be able to convert them to a G-enabled state. 79.4% want clue scrolls to be added to the drop table of Implings. 88.5% wanted it to be made possible to catch Implings without a net, requiring 10 levels Hunter, more than you would need with a net. 81.8% wanted to be made possible to compost a farming patch at any point in the growth stages. 87.2% want it to be made possible so you can make teleport tablets for the spells on the Arceus spellbook. And finally, 91.9% want gem reward bags to be available at the Motherlode Mine reward shop for 40 assorted uncut gems at a cost of 50 golden nuggets. This is a really interesting poll. So many of these questions are passing. I think there's only 2, 3, maybe even 4 that aren't passing, and there's 27 questions. It's really impressive. Most of them I think, yeah, they can pass. Some of them I think, I'd rather not have it, but generally won't bother me too much. The 2 ones that really interested me are here actually, question 14 and 15. Farmers being made to stand still, and the change to Apatol teleport on the Necromancy spellbook. I would have expected those to pass, however, they're not, and I don't have any major quarrels with it either way. Both of them are relatively close, so I imagine in the future, if they were to do near-miss polls, then they'll probably get onto it. Again, all of these doing really well. Amazing that a lot of them are in the 80s, 90%. One of them was even 96% plus. Although, that being said, there was one, here we go, question 2. It's got 44.9% people supporting it, which is probably one of the lowest polls we've had in the entire of Old School RuneScape. I don't know whether it is the lowest, but I can't think of any that were particularly lower. I know we've had a few sort of around between, I guess 45 and 50, but never quite this low. Obviously, there is still a few days to go on this poll. It's closing on the 26th of April. If you've not voted on this poll, please make sure you go ahead and vote. This is a community game and every single update we get in it is voted on by us, the community. If you want to watch my video on the latest Old School RuneScape update, please click here, bug fixes and combining tentacles. And if you want to watch my video on the latest Old School RuneScape news post, please click here for Dead Man Invitational Winner and Retrospective. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the Old School RuneScape updates, dev blogs and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.